So in the 1940s, what we find is there was um, before the 19 in the yeah, of course, in the in the 1940s there have been the British government tried to execute several acts and plans to continue their rule in India. For example, the Government of India Act of 1935, the Cripps Mission Act of 1942, the Cabinet Mission Plan of 1946. In 1942, Gandhi asked Gandhi had this Quit India movement. And 1941, Gandhi drafted a resolution and called upon the British to quit India. In August 1942, during the Second World War, All India Congress Committee, under the leadership of Gandhi, launched the Quit India movement, and it demanded the British to end their rule in India. So Indians were inspired by Gandhi's slogan of do or die. It turned out to be the biggest civilian uprising since the Sepoy Mutiny in 1857. But somehow the British, as usual, they crushed the movement, and and then again we will find that in the 40s, in 1929, there was this depression, and gradually Bengal suffered, and the entire India suffered. British as well as Britain as well as India was recovering. So this is again economically India was affected. Um, Muslim League, well, Jinnah was initially, we see in from 1912 to 1932, Jinnah was with the Congress, and there was this unity, Hindu-Muslim unity. There was this one voice, but gradually the things started to disintegrate. Jinnah did not agree with the with the with the Congress, and so in the 1937 election in the Muslim majority province of Bengal and the Punjab, the he wanted to Jinnah wanted to win. He was very keen to win, and that is how he was trying to gain the majority votes or popularity from Bengal and Punjab. And so he started to also encourage the leaders of Eastern Bengal, like Fazlul Haq of Bengal, to support the peasants. And so then we also see the leadership of Sarwardi in Bengal. So these are the leaders that emerged in the with the Muslim League, and so Jinnah started gathering support for his party. So now, how did the partition eventually come to took place? There was in the 1940s. You will find there was the communal riots. There was this in 1940. There was the Lahore Resolution, Jinnah's two-nation theory, and here he started exploiting Muslim sentiment on Muslim identity. So here the politics of identity politics comes in. Jinnah and the Muslim League suffered severely in the 1937 election. So get in order to have his way out, Jinnah started to use religion as his political goal, and started exploiting Muslim sentiment and Muslim identity. So fine, there was this, as I said, with his two-nation theory, Jinnah started to say that yeah, there should be a separate nation for the Muslims. It's not that Jinnah was really, the historian says that he was not a practicing Muslim. He was very English, sort of his dress and his style was very English. But then again, he used religion for his own personal ego and for his own personal gain. So in the 1945-46 election, Muslim League did good, and in 1946 there was this direct action day, and that brought a lot of misery to the people in Calcutta through the riot. So, on the other hand, Mahatma Gandhi had been working for Indian unity, as Louis Fisher puts in. He wrote the biography of Gandhi. He puts in the irregular, sorry, he puts in the he's the author of the book The Life of Mahatma Gandhi. So Louis Fisher says the irreligious Jinnah wished to build a religious state. Gandhi, wholly religious, wanted a secular state. Gandhi wrote from Sevagram on 1st April 1940. But I do not believe that Muslims, when it comes to a matter of actual decision, will ever want vivisection. Their good sense will prevent them. Their religion will forbid the obvious suicide which the partition would mean. The two nations theory is an untruth. The vast majority of Muslims of India are converts to Islam or descendants of converts. They did not become a separate nation as soon as they became converts. Hindus and Muslims of India are not two nations. Those whom God has made one, man will never be able to divide. But on the other hand, Jinnah raised this reasonable doubt, and he made the Muslims believe that a separate nation will be good for them. On 29th April 1940, Gandhi wrote, "Religion binds man to God and man to man. I have lived with and among Muslims not one day, but closely and almost uninterruptedly for 20 years. Not one Muslim taught me that Islam was an anti-Hindu religion." Gandhi regarded the vivisection of India as blasphemy. So, as we see that Gandhi tried his utmost to have one India. For him, Hindu and Muslim were one people, and that is, they were Indians, but Jinnah used his political strategy to divide the country. So this is where India stood between the two leaders. So finally, when Lord Mountbatten came and Nehru, the Congress leader, so the Nehru proposed that there should be one united India, but then the Congress will lead India. Then Jinnah thought his leadership will not be recognized, and so he proposed for Pakistan for the Muslims. So it was completely, as we can see, the ego of two leaders. That's for that reason, perhaps, the partition took place. So 1947, the partition of India took place. But later on, the consequences, as we all know, the consequences has been quite a tragedy. There were riots and people migrating from Pakistan to India, from India to Pakistan. There were many riots, bloodshed, sufferings, agony of the Indians. Some of them became Pakistanis and some remained Indians. So there is a documentary in the LMS on the on partition and the suffering of the people while moving from one country to another, and how the riots took place and how people were killed and there was so much bloodshed. So I suggest that you should see that documentary as well, because reading is important, but visual expression and visual understanding is more important to understand the situation of the time. So, after the partition, the consequences, as we know, the Kashmir question is still unresolved. There was this 1965 Indo Pakistan war over Kashmir. The Kashmir question is recently, in the recent times, in 2019, I think in August, under the Modi government, India, the BJP government, Prime Minister Modi, they uh, they have deprived Kashmir from their autonomous position, and so we will discuss that when we have the discussion on Kashmir in this course. So instead of resolving the Kashmir question, the Kashmir Muslims in Kashmir um, has lost their freedom. Then 1971, there was the Liberation War in Bangladesh, or the Bangladesh War of Independence, and in 1971, Bangladesh emerged. So, from the period of, again, in the consequences of partition of India, we find the Kashmir question unresolved. East Pakistan and West Pakistan had never got along because of the disparity between East Pakistan and West Pakistan. So the Pakistani government, West Pakistani government, discriminated the people of East Pakistan. They were the language movement. There was this 1952 language movement when West Pakistan said that Urdu will be the national language, and that's where the Bengalis they refused to listen to that, and so that there was this language movement. So basically, West Pakistan never sort of politically or economically or in the educationally they deprived it deprived the Bengalis in East Pakistan. So then there was the rise of Awami League under Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and the 6 points of Awami League. It called for greater autonomy. Pakistan denied all the rights to East Pakistani people, and in the election general election in 1970, Awami League won 160 seats, and the Pakistani Bhutto's group, Pakistan People's Party, got 80 seats, but election results were denied by the then West Pakistan. Then a genocide took place in Bangladesh from by the Pakistani military from 26th March to 16th December. Finally, with the help of India, Bangladesh could get its independence in 16th December 1971, and that is known as the Victory Day. So this topic has been pretty broad. So we covered this topic: India, the Indian civilization, Indian culture, partition of Bengal, Hindu-Muslim unity, tensions between Congress and Muslim League, the issues between the leaders, Indian leaders, the British policy of divide and rule, and their British strategy of exploitation. So, British taking the help of Indian volunteers during the both wars in Indian military who fought for the British crown in World War One, World War Two. So in every way, British benefited in during their colonial period. But at the end of the day, when they left, they just left it in a very difficult state. Um, there were riots, there were partition, there were riots, there were people, Hindu Muslim, who were one Indians, one people, and they created hatred between the Indians. And then finally, there was this two country, Pakistan and India, and then Pakistan exploited West Pakistan exploited East Pakistan from 1947 to 1971, and the eventual outcome or the consequence of the partition of India was the birth of Bangladesh. Well, we got our identity, a Bangladeshi identity, and we should be proud of our identity, and we should be proud um, as a nation and of our country, Bangladesh. Thank you.